The New York Sports Machine presents The Shootout with Dr. K.
Tonelli to Nystrom. He scores! Bob Nystrom scores the goal. The Islanders win the Stanley.
Matto behind the net. Swings it in front. He scores! Matto!
Beats him on goal. Shoots.
The waiting is over, and this one will last a lifetime.
3, 2, 1.
Here's Dr. K.
Hello, and welcome to another Shootout. Ken Reischman here with you on the Shootout. Dr. K is in the office on this Monday, February 9th. The Islanders and the Rangers both in action last night. The Islanders come away with 2 big points against a Buffalo team that you need to beat if you're the Islanders, and the Rangers pick up 1 point in a game against Dallas. Islanders on the road, Rangers at home. Overtime loss for the Rangers last night up the point. Now, both teams off today, Monday, and then both teams back in action tomorrow. Islanders home against Edmonton, Rangers on the road in Toronto. Both teams really could use 2 points in those 2 games. And, the Islanders who go on a bit of a road trip, the annual Father's road trip with the team, they take 2 out of 3, losing to Boston in between 2 wins. Obviously, on the latter end, the Buffalo win for New York, and that comes on back-to-back nights as they lose to Boston the night before. Chad Johnson got the start against his former team, and then way back on Thursday, the Islanders beat Philadelphia on the road as well. So 2 out of 3 for New York, losing that game to Boston, trying to get off a little bit of a schneid here. They've kind of hit a little bit of a wall. They've hit a bit of an injury bug, and last night you saw that with Harry Zolnierchuk and Colin McDonald both getting in the lineup. Kyle Okposo obviously out for the next couple of weeks, and now Michael Grabner placed on IR as well. Calvin DeHaan missed last night. He's a little bit banged up. Cal Clutterbuck missed last night. He's also banged up, so Wisniewski got back in the lineup. And so you've seen the Islanders' depth has been tested here. And that was a big conversational topic over the summer for New York, was the depth that they provided. They're paying a lot of NHL salaries in the minor leagues, and you see that now. And you see that with guys like Harry Zolnierchuk, who can come up and perform at an NHL level, and guys like Colin McDonald, who have been here before, and Corey Conacher, who's still down. And if Columbus did not, take Jack Skilly off of waivers at the beginning of the season, he'd also be down there. So it's depth which allows you to play a little bit. It allows you options when people go down, and people are going to go down. It's a physical game. Hockey, you're going to get hurt, you don't want to get hurt, but it's going to happen every now and again. And then to be able to bounce back from that with guys like Zolnierchuk and McDonald, who can play not at a high quality NHL level, but can play at an NHL level, is nice to have, and it's a little bit of a comfort for when guys like Okposo and Grabner and Clutterbuck are all out of the lineup at the same time. So big win last night for the Islanders, 3-2 over the Sabres. They go up 3-0, just like they did earlier in the year against Buffalo. Remember, Kevin Poulin got the start in that game. And then they blew that 3-0 lead in the third period. They fall in overtime, in the shootout to Buffalo. I believe that was how things went down. I could be totally wrong about that. I'm almost 100% sure they got the point in that game and lost in the shootout. But on the other end of things, they go up again 3-0 in this game, and then they start to falter a little bit. They give up 2 consecutive goals. It's 3-2. People are going, okay, this is happening again against the worst team in the league. Okay, sure thing. But they're able to hold on. They hold Buffalo to only 10 shots on goal, and that is the lowest amount ever in an Islanders hockey game for an opponent. So just a great night all around for the Islanders. They were dominant all night long, and hockey's a weird game, so it was close. In any other sport, I don't think if you dominate the way the Islanders did, the score would be as close as it was. But hockey's a weird game, and things happen. And so it's a 3-2 win. It's a regulation win. Nice to have. Big 2 points. They sit back atop the Metropolitan Division now, with 69 points. That's 1 point ahead of Pittsburgh. And last time I saw you, the Rangers were in third, but now it is Washington who sits in third place. Again, Eastern Conference playoffs really almost settled. It's just about the seeding at this point moving forward. And with still a bunch of time left in the season, it's not fun. It's not as fun as you would have expected it to be. With a bunch of teams clamoring for the last 2, maybe 3 playoff spots, but it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. I mean, Florida with an outside chance. They're 6 points back, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but I read an article on Puck Daddy written, I believe, by Ryan Lambert just a few days, maybe a week ago, and the amount of teams who have made the playoffs after being 4 points back at this point in the season is very little, and they are 6 points out, and a team like Boston is ahead of them, a team like the Rangers are ahead of them, and those two teams are leaps and bounds better than Florida could ever hope to be this season. So for them to try and clamor their way back into the race is going to be hard, and then you've got the Flyers who are 3 points back from that, and then the Devils are the next best team at 51 points. So the Eastern Conference playoffs are pretty much settled, and it's just about seeding right now. And I was actually having a conversation earlier with another Islanders fan about who their least favorite matchup would be in the opening round. And I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit, but why not? Because, I think the deadline is going to be soft and quiet for the Islanders. I don't think there's going to be a lot of news that comes out. Maybe a depth trade, maybe something like that where they acquire another bottom 6 kind of guy who can slot into the lineup depending on how these injuries really do play out. If Grabner's out for the long term, if Clutterbuck or Dehan is going to be out for the long term, they're going to need some more depth. I don't think the Islanders would be super comfortable going into the playoffs with a guy like Harry Zolnierchuk or Colin McDonald in their everyday lineup. So, I wouldn't be surprised if these injuries are long-lasting, if they go out and acquire another bottom 6 kind of guy or another bottom pairing kind of defensive man for some depth reasons. But other than that, I don't see anything too crazy going. Trading for a backup goalie is a little silly. At this point, the idea of a backup goalie is to get you through the dog days of the regular season when you're fighting for your life in a playoff race or just trying to hold on to a playoff spot. But at this point, it's pretty much settled that the Islanders are going to make the playoffs. And knock on wood. But it would take an utter disaster for them not to make the playoffs, and I don't think a backup goalie is going to help that. And by the time you get to the playoffs, regardless of who your backup goalie is, if you don't have Halak and you're the Islanders, you're not going anywhere anyway. So to trade an asset for a backup goalie at this point is a little silly to me. I think you hold on to your asset and you ride your Chad Johnson, or if you want to call Kevin Poulin up, it doesn't really matter at this point. They're just a backup goalie, and that's the point of a backup goalie, is they're just there to fill out the bench. Anyway, so other than maybe a depth move, I don't see anything too intense going on for the Islanders around deadline time. But other than that, I think, and again, I mentioned that conversation I was having earlier with the Islanders fan, who are our worst nightmare would be in the first round, and I think it's going to be pretty much unanimous. Boston and Washington are my biggest two fears for the Islanders in the first round. I mean, teams like really anybody in the Atlantic is not my best option. But if I had to pick my least favorite option in the Metro, it would be Washington, because their power play is something else. Obviously, Ovechkin is something else on the power play, and the Islanders' penalty kill being worst in the league. I saw a meme yesterday, I believe it was an Isles blog meme. 72.9% of the time, it works every time, and they are not a very good penalty kill. And so to go up against a team like Washington in the first round, where their power play can really do some damage, is not what you want if you're an Islanders fan or an Islanders player, or if you're Yaroslav Halak. Last thing you want to see is that many one-timers coming at you off the stick of Ovechkin. So if I had to pick my least favorite matchup in the Metropolitan Division for the first round of the playoffs, it would be Washington. If I had to pick my least favorite Atlantic matchup, would probably be Montreal, because they can match you with the speed all day long. But and Carey Price is out of this world. But I don't see them falling out of the top two in their in their division, so I don't think that'll be a problem. I think Montreal ends up coming away with that division win anyway. So for them to face the Islanders would be an utter disaster for New York. So I think my logical least favorite matchup in the Atlantic would be Boston. Tuukka Rask is a phenomenal, extraordinary goaltender, and he can steal you a series. He can not only can he steal you a game, he can steal you a series, and we've seen that before. And Tuukka Rask can do that again, and I think that's not a favorable matchup in round number one. I mean, a team like Boston, which has been there before with guys like Lucic and Krejci and Bergeron and Chara and Tuukka Rask, as I've mentioned before, just not a team you want to match up in the first round against a team in New York that is inexperienced in playoff hockey, and I'm not one that subscribes to the idea that you need to be a veteran to succeed in the playoffs, but you do need to have the mental capacity to handle it, and it's yet to be seen if the Islanders do, and so we will find out when that time comes. But those are my two least favorite matchups on the horizon, that could come to fruition. But on the other end, little New York Rangers talk. They lose last night to Dallas in overtime. They get the tying goal late, able to get that loser point. The 1 point keeps them in fourth place in the Metro, 1 point behind Washington for third, and they have 3 games in hand on Washington. So, again, games in hand, you need to win those games, or else they don't matter. So, 1 point behind Washington there, 3 points behind Pittsburgh for second, and 4 behind the Islanders for first. So, the Rangers playing well of late. Obviously, last night, Rick Nash and Marty St. Louis did not have their best night, and you heard Alain Vigneault talk about it for a little bit. They just weren't having an on night, and they were getting outpossessed, and they were getting outplayed. So he put them on the bench for the remainder. I believe it was 6 minutes of that second period where they didn't get in the lineup. So it's odd this season to see Rick Nash having an off night, and obviously you can't talk about the Rangers right now without talking about the absence of Henrik Lundqvist, who is going to miss 2 or 3 weeks. He's going to be reevaluated in a few, to talk about his neck, where he caught a puck up high right in this area a few days ago. Says he's at risk for a stroke if he played again, so Lundqvist is one of those guys that you don't want to see in the lineup if you're an opposing team, but he's one of those guys that you do want to see in the lineup if you're a fan. And I'm a big Islanders fan, but I truly appreciate his athleticism and what he brings to the game is just incredible, and he is one of the ambassadors of the game. So you never want to see him out of the lineup for an extended period of time. So we hope that he's okay and can get back in the lineup soon. But for the Rangers, Cam Talbot has done a pretty phenomenal job holding them in games. Alain Vigneault said last night for the first 40 minutes he did hold them in the game. That was the only reason they were still around. He played well last night. Back-to-back nights for Talbot. Played really well. And so we're going to see what the Rangers have in Cam Talbot for the next few weeks, and it'll be interesting to see where the Rangers go with their goaltending, because they they have off tonight, back in action again on Tuesday. Again, that's on the road in Toronto, and then they have off, I believe, until Thursday. So Talbot's already played back-to-backs. He played Saturday, Sunday. Am I lying? No, yeah, he played Saturday, Sunday, and now off until Tuesday, and then they have off again until Thursday. So if he's able to play those 4 games in a row, that's a big stretch of time. And the Rangers are going to have a pretty packed schedule. They've got games in hand on pretty much everybody. Right now, only 51 games played for them, so they've got a few games to make up. And so Talbot is gonna be run out there a few times. So again, right now where we stand, Islanders first place in the Metro at 69 points. Penguins at 68 in second. I believe 66 in third place is Washington, and the Rangers in fourth with 65. So plenty of hockey action going on this week. We'll see you in just a few days. We'll go over, I think maybe I'll be back Friday-ish, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened over the course of the week. So again, Islanders first, Rangers fourth right now, just a 4-point difference between the two teams. Both teams have winnable games, really winnable games on Tuesday. Rangers against Toronto, Islanders against Edmonton, Rangers on the road, Islanders at home, and both teams really probably want to come away with 2 points there. Okay, so we will step out now, and then we'll see you in just a few days, and we will talk about the week of hockey at hand. For the Shootout, I'm Ken Reischman. We'll see you soon.